If you care about how people actually survived and crossed hostile environments without modern tools, this topic matters. And before we go further, I ask you to subscribe to The Prepper Historian and share this channel with others who value real, grounded history instead of surface-level storytelling. What we're discussing today is not folklore or romantic myth, but a system of navigation refined through death, trial, and repetition by people who staked their lives on getting it right. Most modern viewers underestimate just how dangerous open sea travel was in the Viking Age. No GPS, no compass, no charts as we know them today. Once land vanished behind the horizon, there was no external reference point except the sky, the water, and accumulated experience. What kept Norse sailors alive was not luck. It was a disciplined understanding of light, weather, birds, waves, and time. If you're watching this as a historian or a preparedness-minded person, there are lessons here that still apply when modern systems fail. Let's begin with how Norse sailors navigated when the sun itself disappeared. The sunstone was not a magical crystal, and it wasn't used casually. It was a specific class of light polarizing minerals, most likely Iceland spar, a form of calcite abundant in the North Atlantic. These stones have a property that bends and splits light in predictable ways. Even under heavy cloud cover or fog, sunlight still scatters through the atmosphere in polarized patterns. The human eye can't normally detect that, but the sunstone makes it visible. A navigator would hold the stone up to the sky and rotate it slowly. At a certain angle, the light passing through would even out or form a consistent brightness pattern. That alignment indicated the hidden position of the sun. This was not guesswork. Experimental archaeology has repeatedly confirmed that trained users can locate the sun's position within a few degrees, even in overcast conditions. In practical terms, this meant a Norse ship could maintain a steady westward or eastward course across the North Atlantic without ever seeing the sun directly. For modern survivalists, the lesson is not to run out and buy crystals, but to understand that navigation does not depend on a single tool. It depends on understanding physical systems. If you learn how light behaves, how shadows shift, and how time and direction interact, you're far less dependent on electronics. Knowing the sun's position was only useful because Norse sailors also understood time. They didn't carry clocks, but they tracked the length of daylight, seasonal sun angles, and the arc of the sun across the sky. On known routes, such as Norway to Iceland or Iceland to Greenland, they sailed at specific latitudes where the sun's height at midday matched memory and experience. If the sun climbed too high or stayed too low, they adjusted north or south accordingly. This method still works today. If you know the expected solar height for your latitude at a given season, you can detect drift even without instruments. It requires practice, not technology. The sea itself provided constant information. Norse sailors, you know, read wave patterns the way modern pilots read instruments. Long ocean swells travel consistently from prevailing wind systems, while shorter, choppier waves reflect local conditions. When the two conflicted, it signaled a change in weather or proximity to land. Reflected swells bouncing back toward the ship often meant cliffs or ice fields ahead, even before they were visible. Bird behavior mattered as well. Certain seabirds do not sleep on the open ocean. Seeing them in the morning meant land was within reach. Seeing them disappear at dusk confirmed you were moving away from shore. Whales, seals, drifting seaweed and even watercolour were all used as indicators. None of these signs worked alone. Together they formed a reliable picture. For those thinking in preparedness terms, this is a reminder that situational awareness is cumulative. One sign can lie. 10 signs together rarely do. Weather prediction was honestly another survival skill, not just some old superstition. Norse sailors, you know, they observed things like cloud height, wind shifts, the smell of the air, and even the spacing of waves to anticipate storms, sometimes hours or even days in advance. Knowing when to heave to, when to change sail configuration, and when to run before a storm, well, that meant the difference between arriving or vanishing. And this knowledge, it was passed down orally, refined by loss, and never written casually because, quite frankly, mistakes were fatal. Applying this today, well, it really means relearning to observe rather than just react. If modern forecasts ever vanish, your ability to read the weather directly becomes, honestly, priceless. What ties all of this together, really, is mindset. Norse navigation wasn't about control. It was about cooperation with natural systems. Sailors did not force a route, you see. They rode known currents, adjusted to seasonal winds, and accepted delays rather than risk-blind persistence. Their routes were flexible, their decisions conservative, and their respect for uncertainty was, without question, absolute. For historians, this challenges the simplistic view of Vikings as reckless adventurers. They were methodical, patient, and deeply informed by their environment. For survivalists, it reinforces perhaps an uncomfortable truth. Tools fail, systems collapse. Knowledge carried in your head travels anywhere and never runs out of power. If you found value in this deep dive into real Norse sea wisdom, do consider subscribing to The Prepper Historian. Share this video with others who take history seriously and keep these lessons alive. Understanding how people survived before modern crutches may one day matter more than we expect.